Welcome to Spooky History. In today's episode, we're looking at the spooky history of cats. Meow. Those dilating eyes, that soundless walk. They'll love you, then leave you, or open your veins. They won't take no for an answer. They play with their food to watch it suffer. They may even decide to attack your laptop while you're trying to write or produce this episode of Spooky History. True. Sorry about that. Not gonna lie, this subject deserves a series on its own right. It's impossible to fit every single spooky cat story into one episode alone. They're never ending and we're beyond spoiled for choice here. Plus, for every nasty cat myth, there's a nice one too. Therefore, as this is spooky history and I have no intention of making you comfortable, the nasty scary tibbies are exactly what you're going to get. So, for the sake of argument, let's assume cats are fluffballs straight from Satan's belly button. Why are they evil then? What bastard let that moggy in? Well, you've heard of cats appearing on the doorstep or even indoors, luxuriating on your sofa like, "Sup bitch? Oh yeah, and by the way, I live here now, yo." Don't quite know why they're gangster. Turns out that's how it's always been. In 2017, DNA results were published in Nature, Ecology and Evolution based on a study of over 200 cats across the last 9,000 years, along with Romanian, ancient Egyptian and wild African specimens. The punchline? There's hardly any genetic difference between ancient wild cats and the domestic overlords we have today. For millennia, cats were a natural, cheapest, hence convenient defense against rodents. We didn't opt to domesticate them, they waltzed in and domesticated us. Or at least domesticated themselves. A win-win situation for both, right? Or was it? They do say the devil takes your soul by granting your wishes. From the beginning, it seems these fuzzy button pushers already had the upper hand, a key factor in emotional blackmail, and those cute dilating pupils to boot. But are they really evil? Aristotle said female cats are naturally lecherous. Make a good president of the US then, I guess. Pliny associated them with lust. Aesop called them devious and cunning, and some would argue any animal that, according to the Greek historian Herodotus, makes you shave off your eyebrows when they die, probably has an unhealthy grip of the human psyche, especially when it extends to whole civilizations. Kill a cat in ancient Egypt? Nice one. In the name of Bastet, Egyptian cat goddess, you are instantly sentenced to death. And for any fans of Curse of the Cat People, look no further than Scotland. One of the earliest recorded names for Shetland was Inside Cat, translating to the Isle of Cats. This cat clan extended to Sutherland and Caithness, a former Pictish kingdom derived from Caich, the Gaelic plural for cats. Where the dog is seen as a companion and equal side by side through thick and thin, the cat on the other hand appears to have been pampered and treated like royalty, purring their way to our hearts whilst quietly enslaving the globe. Celtic folklore of medieval Europe knew this only too well. At the start of winter, cats were thrown outside or off buildings to appease any wicked spirits. As the Irish saying goes, God save all here except the cat. Various cat myths include: if it jumps over a human corpse and looks at you, you'll go blind. If it jumps over a woman's food, she'll give birth to kittens. If it washes itself, rain is forecast. Its death foretells your own death. Meeting one on New Year's Day is bad luck. Meeting one on your wedding day is bad luck. Their flesh was poisonous, their bite venomous. They'll deliberately suffocate you with fur. Their breath spreads TB and plague, so keep them out of the way in 2020. Their very presence makes beer go flat, and they personally deliver human souls to Lucifer himself. But your most typical image of an evil cat is that little black critter perched on the end of a witch's broomstick, and not without good reason. Anyone remember Graymalkin, the witch's cat in Shakespeare's Macbeth? During the Renaissance, this popular vermin control, particularly in rural communities, was believed to not only be a witch's familiar, but a spy for Satan, or even witches themselves in disguise. We'll get to that. When the witch trials erupted across mainland Europe and Britain, you were in quite a precarious position if you already owned a cat, who was often burned alive at the stake with you. Meow. To this day, black cats are condemned as bad luck and even harbingers of death, because black means nighttime and morning and anything dark is bad. In French myth, the matago, or mandago, usually appeared as a black cat as well as shapeshifting into rats, foxes or dogs. Though wicked and mischievous, if trapped they proved to be faithful servants to their human captors. But, cats being cats, naturally there was the small footnote. Well, paw print, such as sharing your food with it and releasing it prior to your death, otherwise suffering hideous consequences and dying in unimaginable pain. Some religious scholars believe the devil himself appears in the form of a black cat. Not even white cats were left off the hook, their ghostly pale colour considered equally spooky. Black cats' organs were, and by some people still are, used in rituals, sacrifices and divinations, though I put that down to evil humans, not evil cats. This is why many cat shelters won't let anyone adopt black cats near Halloween. That said, you'll find black cats are traditionally a good omen in Scotland. Up there, the Scots had their very own demonic fairy cats haunting the Highlands, known as the cat sith. Some of these were human witches shapeshifting yet again, but the catch here was, once they'd changed 9 times, they couldn't return to human form, a possible origin for the belief in 9 lives. Here you have a dog-sized black cat with an arched back, a white patch on its belly or neck. It'll otherwise look perfectly normal, until you turn your back. Then it assumes its natural position, bipedal, on hind legs, away from prying human eyes. They were likely inspired by Kellis cats, a hybrid of the Scottish wildcat and domestic. Locals feared they stole human souls from dead bodies prior to burial, and for this reason anyone freshly deceased was specifically kept in iced rooms as cold as possible to keep cats at bay. You could also fight or distract them with riddles and music. At Samhain, they rampaged local farms to steal milk from the dairy cows, but instead of the locals going on a kitty-killing spree, as mortal humans became their bitches yet again by leaving out fresh milk to appease them, or suffer their wrath. A famous old Scottish tale features 2 cat sith, Tim and Tom Toldrum, who were able to speak the human tongue. Tim was king of the cats, and when he died, the other cat sith carried his funeral procession through town. Tom eagerly escaped through the chimney to replace him as the next king. Another famous talking Sith was Big Ears, an omnipotent feline with clearly sociopathic issues who had the ability to answer any question and grant any wish, but who also delighted in watching his other fellow cats burn at the stake. Weirdo. You may have heard the phrase, "a cat may look at a king," meaning that inferiors are not totally restricted in what they may do around superiors. But what about battling them? Well, absolutely, any cat would say no king is too good for a cat, not even King Arthur. For this we look to Wales for the Cath Palig, or Palig's cat, meaning scratching cat, claw or piercing. This is a huge black, partly aquatic feline of great ferocity, allegedly birthed from a sow named Henwen of Cornwall and known as one of the 3 plagues of the Isle of Mona. It also prowled the Isle of Anglesey and butchered almost 200 warriors sent to destroy it by Sir Kay in Arthurian legend. Conflicting tales from Old French and Anglo-Norman sources depict King Arthur in battle with the beast, sometimes killing it, sometimes vice versa. The Wether, or goat, they had been fighting with was the world, and the cat was the power that would destroy the world itself, namely death. Black cats are no strangers to ghostly hauntings either. Dublin in the Republic of Ireland suffered the Black Cat of Killikee House. In 1968, this old house was purchased by a hopeful, eager couple who quickly got busy hiring builders for the renovations needed to move in. Soon the workers reported disturbing noises and inhuman sounds within the walls, strange enough to frighten those grown Irishmen. Then the creatures seemed to manifest, a terrifying, large, dark cat with glowing demonic eyes, scaring the life out of everyone in the place. Though the new homeowners sought the help of an exorcist, a séance held there years later reportedly conjured up not only the same badass in black, but 2 scary nuns to boot. Fun fact, this séance was conducted by a group of actors, so you can make up your own minds on that one. In Japanese folklore, supernatural creatures, spirits and demons come under the term yokai, of which 2 types happen to be feline and not nice ones at that. First, meet the wicked bakaniko, meaning ghost, changing or monster cat. Since the early 1600s, tales have been told of creatures that start out as ordinary cats but begin transforming to yokai when their age exceeds 10 to 13 years. They could also be resurrected cats seeking revenge if killed by a human, or even killing their owners after 7 years. They develop the power of human speech and learn to walk on their hind legs, even dancing. With time they grew as tall as a human. No animal was too large to eat, nor plant too poisonous. They developed powers of necromancy to reanimate and control corpses like slaves. They even shapeshifted into the human form of their owners after having killed and eaten them. And they apparently celebrated their devilry by dancing around with napkins on their heads. Hey, who am I to judge? A popular urban legend also grew through the tales of Bakaniko prostitutes who reportedly either transformed into cats or cast a cat's shadows, sometimes attacking their clients. But their close relative, the Necromata, was far, far worse. This creature had an intense active hatred of humans. Yeah, who can blame it? By a certain age, the transformation began with their tails splitting into two, hence the meaning of their name, Forked Cat. At the end of each tail burned deadly flames with which they deliberately started fires to kill people. The worst Necromata were mountain dwellers, talking and bipedal, but many times larger than tigers or leopards. You could explain these tales by considering Japanese cats were fond of drinking lamp oil originally made of cheap fish oils. The sight of cat's eyes in night lamps would have looked spooky enough, not least when they stood on their hind legs to reach for it. So feared yet respected were cats that the Japanese dared not eradicate them for fear of being cursed for 7 generations. I can't imagine losing essential vermin control was an option either. Instead, cats' tails were often bobbed to prevent them growing too long and becoming yokai. Probably no coincidence then that thanks to natural selection, one of Japan's most common cats today is indeed the bobtail. Around the same era in China, cats, especially those with white tails, were thought to harness energy from the moon in order to bewitch their owners. So if your cat happened to glance at the moon, hard luck Tibby, you were encouraged to kill it. In Thailand, if a sorcerer sought vengeance upon you, he may employ a nocturnal ghost in the form of a wild cat called the Cha Kla. Its black fur grows in the wrong direction, tail to ears. It fixes you with eyes red as blood. And by then, it's too late. See or touch it. Sooner or later, you are going to die. According to Zoroastrian mythology, cats were treacherous and created by the evil spirit. If one peed in the ocean, this killed thousands of fish. If it looks upon a corpse, the carcass will be possessed by demons. No bowl they drink from will ever be clean again, and all food touched by their whiskers is now poisoned. For a time, cats were forbidden in Persia, owing to the belief it was the product of incubus with a demon. See our video on spectrophilia for more on incubi. Furthermore, Persian texts said the cat was vain because apparently the world's first domestic cat was born of lion snot. Bear with me. In Islamic mythology, Noah's Ark was becoming so overrun with rats that God told Noah to touch the lion's head and rub its nostrils, whereupon the lion sneezed and from each nostril shot out the fuzzy bundle of knives currently purring on your lap. If that's no reason to be proud, I don't know what is. In Scandinavian folktales, quite a unique witch's familiar was the troll cat. Unique because these witches made their own little DIY servant from a simple concoction of things like human hair, nails and wood shavings. Mix it all up and recite the necessary incantations and invocations such as: I give you blood, Satan gives you power. You shall run from me on earth, I shall burn for you in hell. You shall travel through forests and fields, gathering milk and cream. In 1929, Norway, it was reported that the witch Lisbeth Snippan created her own troll cat by rolling wood shavings into a ball, adding 3 drops of her own blood and chanting, Now I have given you flesh and blood, may old Nick give you power and life. The result was 2 types of troll cat. 1, a round cat like a ball of yarn, or 2, a normal looking cat, but any harm done to the familiar will cause identical harm to its witch, and burning its droppings causes her the same burning pain. Ow. Either way, they now had a menacing servant who would suck milk from farmers' cows, then spit it into the witch's pail for her, steal cream from people's homes, and if you were to injure this cat, it even bled milk. Otherwise, you've got a zombie witch on your hands, literally climbing out of the grave in search of their familiar. In Iceland, a similar troll cat is called the tilbury. A legend states that one day a tilbury was being chased and hid under the skirts of a farmer's wife. So hated was the creature that these skirts were instantly tied up to prevent it escaping, and promptly burned alive. Very promptly, as in with the wife still wearing them. Another naughty Icelandic kitty belonged to the mythical giantess Grilla. Known as the Yule Cat, primarily because if you hadn't got any new clothes by Christmas Eve, the cat, well, it ate you. That's the penalty. The cat would eat you. Auntie's hideous knitted sweaters suddenly don't feel so unappealing. At best, it ate all your food anyway. This 19th century myth most likely evolved from pushing mill workers to finish spinning the winter wool, especially if the Industrial Revolution intensified competition. Moving on to North America now, Appalachian myths give us the Wampus cat. Cherokee tribes believed this beast was so frightening it drove people insane, shapeshifting from an enormous predator into a charming woman. One of my personal American favourites is a feline who sounds like it should have got its own comic book franchise. Duck, dive and make way for Splinter Cat! Named after it is the Splinter Cat Creek in Oregon. Splinter Cat flies through the air at lightning speed. It hits trees. There it goes. Then keeps hitting trees. Then another, and another, and... Need glasses there, mate. Fear not, Splinter Cat knows what he's doing. He's reducing trees in the Pacific Northwest to silvery splinters, hence the name. To root out troublesome bees and raccoons. What's so spooky about that? Well, he's apparently the grumpiest bastard in the world is what. Because this job means Splinter Cat's got a 24/7 headache from hell. Heading southwest now to the desert. If you're unlucky enough, you'll meet the Cactus Cat. Cactus. Shaped like a bobcat, it had armour, thorns and spines for fur. Fancy some cactus wine? Watch them use those spines like a scythe to slash open that plant and let its juices ebb forth. Not that you'd get any, of course, because according to legend, the Cactus Cat returned as the liquid fermented, got drunk out of its mind and yowled through the wild night, sleeping in the cactus by day. Basically, this spiky alcoholic bobcat guarded their desert wine supply so fiercely they'd attack anyone invading their territory. A little closer to present day is the dreaded Demon Cat, patrolling the basement crypt of the United States Capitol building, Washington, D.C., likewise nicknamed, in cute irony, DC. Black from head to tail, it swells from small cat to a 10-foot tiger. It lunges for you, then disappears into thin air. Beware this creature, for it has been known to stop your heart with one glance. But it does not appear without reason. The night before a presidential election, a prelude to a national tragedy, the Demon Cat is a dark and ferocious omen. The nights before JFK and Lincoln were assassinated, there it was, terrifying hapless witnesses before vanishing once again. One such unlucky witness suffered a fatal heart attack afterwards. Rest assured, this pussy grabbed back. Which is why, timing-wise, I'm rather disappointed it hasn't been seen for decades when, surprise surprise, many unqualified patrol officers not only drank on the job, but also got a day's leave if they spotted the big black badass DC. Now, time to address a myth which has been burning in many mothers' worried minds since the 17th century. The worst thing that could possibly happen to anyone has happened. Your baby is found in its crib, not moving, not breathing. No sign of a break-in, no injury marks, no cries, no pulse. Just cold. The only thing in the room at the time was the cat. In January 1791, an annual register in England recorded a child of 18 months old was found near Plymouth, and it appeared on the coroner's inquest that the child died in consequences of a cat sucking its breath, thereby occasioning a strangulation. Enduring as the macabre myth may be, it's more appropriate to pull back the curtain on this one. While the medical profession struggles to understand sudden infant death syndrome, the veterinary profession can certainly guarantee you cats have no reason to steal anyone's breath. The only way it's even accidentally possible to asphyxiate an infant is if the cat cozied up too long on its chest or face, especially if cats are drawn to milk on the baby's breath. Alas, when you add superstition and lack of medical knowledge at the time, it's hardly surprising cats got the blame. Though it's unclear from where the superstition originated, there was indeed a Hebrew story of Adam's first wife Lilith, a vampire who appeared as a large cat named El Brusha that preyed upon newborn babies. And finally, no spooky history of cats would be complete without allianthropy, or more specifically, shapeshifting from humans to feline. You've already got your werewolves, so why not wear cats? And so there were many tales of them, from the domesticated to the mighty lions. In Europe, this predictably manifested as witches, shapeshifting from human to tabby or something bigger like the panther, whether they had any other magical powers or not. The 15th century book Malleus Maleficarum acknowledged this, but stressed it was only demonic smoke and mirrors. In Africa it got much more interesting, where leopards were leopard deities in human disguise. Beget a child from such a deity, however, and your children may become shapeshifters. And royal figures could look forward to a second life as lions in the afterlife. But things got nasty though, with a supernatural beast of immense proportions called the Nunda, said to be human by day. All stories, I hear you say. But there was a strange case in 1938 when explorer William Hitchens visited Tanzania, hearing of such a beast terrorising the locals. With evidence, this time. Feline paw prints, so large they had no right to exist in nature. In Asia, the tiger is king of the cats, particularly the Bengal tigers, inspiring tales of sorcerers by day, were-tigers by night. Then you had the ghosts of tiger victims called Chang, whose afterlife was a full-time job of supplying more tiger victims or turning you into a were-tiger. In some Chinese folklore, it was the other way around. Most animals were were-people, animals that were damned with the merciless curse of being humans on occasion, poor things, or voluntarily assuming a human disguise. And in Thailand, not even the poor tiger was spared. Eat too many people and you'll catch the human gene. The Indonesian werecat is less malevolent, shapeshifting through inherited power or incantation and killing only if necessary. And in South America, what else but the were-jaguars? More famously, the Mesoamerican shamans and Aztec warriors who transformed into fierce werecat armies using hides of the beast. Ah, and she's back again. So, Prue, tell the truth now. Art thou a witch? Art thou the spawn of Satan? Art thou evil? Yes. Do cats deserve that reputation? Perhaps the only answer I can think of are the words of the late novelist Terry Pratchett. In ancient times, cats were worshipped as gods, and they have not forgotten this, have they? No. The trouble so many cultures have with cats is reconciling their wild nature with the purring moggy. A wild animal is always a wild animal, captive or not, and fact is, genetically cats are more feral than dogs. Dogs are pack animals by nature, they need the company. Cats will have you on their terms and theirs only. Seems their pet humans get offended by that. We're touchy that way. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or ideas for future episodes, just pop them in the comments. Thanks for watching and please, do you have nightmares? Meow.